Hello. We got something to talk about. It's Druidspire. I'm here to talk about the newly released updated letter from Orion, dated March 2025. This will replace the previous letter to the players that was published at the end of December. Well, actually right before Christmas. And we're going to talk about it and see what's what. As you can already see, there's a pile of stuff at the beginning. And we're going to go over not only what's in the letter, but what's not in the... We're going to kind of think about what's not in the letter. And also pull comments that Orion, as usual, has been answering tons of questions on Discord and on the forums. Following up with people have questions, he's got answers. Maybe not the answers people want to hear. Maybe not the full and complete answers people would love to have. But we'll take what we can get, right? Okay, first of all, I like the fact that he starts with good morrow. And I would like to also point out that when he was discussing the letter to the players in Discord, he referred to by the acronym of LTTP, capital L, small t, capital P, which, of course, anybody who plays Legend of Zelda will more readily recognize that as meaning Link to the Past. Anywho, let's get into it. All right, so he wishes us well to start with, and here's an update. And this, by the way, just a little background here, this is a process that Orion is doing as part of his role as one of the high-ups at Standing Stone on the dev team. Basically acting like a producer, but it's not a producer's letter. I don't think that's part of his official job title, even though he probably does a lot of that work. It's kind of moving away. I think Standing Stone has been waffling the past few years about whether they should do one yearly roadmap and then have it, the realities of development biting them in the ass later in the year, or doing quarterly updates that are going to be more evergreen and more relevant to the more immediate future, while still having something to look at in the longer form. So I think Reninia, when he was the producer, was trying to do something like that, but it didn't fly very well. So hopefully this sticks around, because I actually kind of like it. So Ryan here has been pretty chatty, and the link to this article will be in the documents in the thing. So you will be able to check this out later at your convenience in the link down below. All right, so back to the actual letter. And he's talking about nearing milestones for the game. The game is now going to be 18 years old. In fact, I think its official birthday's later this month. This is April 2025. And he makes a wisecrack saying that he hopes that we get at least 93 more years. I will not be old enough to live through all of that. Neither will he. He's saying update 44 arrives in April. New content pack featuring new story quests, missions, and 6-player instance. Content pack targets players of level 150 and continues the story of the people of Shagana. And he's right up front. He's honest and says the raid that was announced in the previous letter, which I do have a copy of that if you want to see. That is not it, but this is. Boom. New instance, new raid, go bye-bye. And I will point out with my lovely little scrawled by trackball writing there, this is the old roadmap from December 2024, and highlighting the fact of the 3 little words subject to change. So basically, they're talking about the content pack that continues the story of the people of Shagana, and I was wondering if, is this the Uniting Shagana has to do with it? And there's a question mark next to new instance, because he doesn't mention it. We'll get into that. Anyhow. So they said the raid, he does make he explains why they're not going to do it. He says, sadly, releasing the current Temple Utubur raid took longer than anticipated, and they're still hitting that thing with hammers to try to fix bugs and problems with it. You see that all the time in the Discord threads and whatnot. So no second raid. We've had first raid, but what about second raid? Not getting a second raid. Very sad. However, he does say there will be a new raid in the expansion later that year, which we kind of already knew. So instead of having a 3 raid year or a 2 raids and then one right after the beginning of the new year kind of situation, we're getting 2 raids. 1 raid we already have. They still need to squash some bugs with it. And then later. Alright. He does add that update 44 adds the VIP only favored standing rep enhancement thing extended to nearly all the reputations throughout the game. This was something that they were basically kind of testing with the most recent factions, like with the people of Shigana and, you know, the Ikarbani and whatnot. So they're basically doing what many of us who are altaholics are gonna love, if it works right, is they're taking it backwards in that any reputation track that has like Kindred as the highest tier, and you have a character at Kindred in that track, then all of your other characters coming up from behind will get improved reputation with them. And again, that's a VIP perk. So that may be something that might tip the scales as to whether you sub up or not. What you find value is up to you. So it says it's starting with the earliest reputations in the Shire, Erdluin, or Breland, and extending through the legacy of Morgoth. And what it does is it allows alt characters on an account to earn rep on the myriad reputation factors at an accelerated rate, providing one of their characters has greater standing with the faction. So that's really, really cool, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Also, one other thing is finally, festivals and events are getting a more focused and extensive treatment, he says this year. The anniversary event, coming free to all players with the release of Update 44 later this month in April, is the first considerable revision and inclusion of this treatment. So I'm actually really interested in what they mean by this. Are they redoing the scavenger hunt? Are they redoing the stuff in Bree and all the various capital cities? The Lobby capital cities? I don't know. It says it's going to provide new missions. That's interesting. Scaling from 20 to 150 with new rewards and the ability to experience these missions as delvings. Later, the Midsummer Festival adds a new festival island, hopefully a tropical island with Mai Tais or some little cocktail, even a mocktail would be fine to hold, and one little bungalow on the beach with a little hammock and just have a straw hat on my head and just wave in the breeze. That I'm good with that. But we don't know where this festival island will be, but it would make sense that if it's midsummer. Okay, midsummer traditionally had been the wedding thing, so okay, I presume it's going to be after the wedding. So, they can't exactly necessarily go south to Umbar, but I'm just saying a lot of the Umbar decorations we've been getting sound really amazing for like a festival island of some kind in a land that's very sunny. Yeah. And shield owls, come on. The waves rolling up on the beach, they'll be perfect. Whether that's what they're going to do, I don't know. Okay, the other thing is Lalia is adding a wing to her market to preview all of the new housing decorations she is making available to the community. Please tell me Scenario's giving Yao more work to do. Running gag is Yao, the LotRO player in France, who is the owner of Dienco de Milieu. The running gag is that Scenario loves to give Yao work to do. Yao does not work for Standing Stone, but my god, he does a lot for them. Alright, he continues. Scenario does. Not Scenario. Orion does. We'll talk about Orion and Scenario here in a minute. Actually, we will. And new housing items are available for sale using a new currency. This is something Scenario has been talking about on his casual strolls and on the forums and in the Discord, is they are getting rid of housing writs. And they're going to let people convert them to this new premium housing thing, or this new currency called homesteading coins. And when he talked about it during last month's casual stroll, the way he described it, I was like, well, it sounds like that the housing rate is like a 20, and what you're trying to do is, it's like when you go to buy a pack of bubble gum to break a 20 at the convenience store kind of deal. And he acknowledged that's kind of what the idea was. So it sounds really cool. It also means it sounds like they're going to be putting some cool more housing things that you can spend these converted writs / coins on. That it's like one housing writ equals how much of a house. I mean, you can buy a whole freaking large house for 18 housing writs. So that's kind of a lot of money. So that'll be interesting. I still haven't spent all of my housing writs. Yeah. Anywho. Alright. So we're going to see a lot more of that. And so when they are moving housing, decor, and options to Lalia's market, Lalia? I think it's Lalia. It's misspelled in one place. We decided to sunset premium housing writs for a more flexible currency. Okay. And homesteading coins will replace the premium housing writs. And now not knowing what to do with the pile of writs. I mean, they tried to do a little something with that. In the Umbar barter, you could buy like kind of like Umbari stable masters and various boat people. No. Oh, my bad. The captains who can help you with boat travel. Have them as housing decorations. And he also adds, and this is actually something interesting that Orion says that I don't think Scenario had mentioned, is that they're going to put convenient repair and consumable vendors and future traveling limited time vendors like Filbert Fig, Rowan Raspberry, Myrtle Mint. He didn't mention the curator, though. That's kind of interesting. Will be setting up shop in the market as well as their usual spots, so that's cool. And he also says they wanted to provide an update on the progress of their long-discussed kinship refresh, which had been on the 2024 roadmap, that was published in early 2024 or late 2023. We were like, oh, kinship revamp! Oh, this sounds so cool! And then it kind of wandered off into the sunset, but now it's apparently back. So, highlighting the current development and status and reasoning behind the changes they're making. Let me scroll up a little bit here. Scroll up. All right. So, all the things they're talking about here. Traditional disclaimer about future work. Of course. Come on. How many years did I pester Severlin about river hobbits before we actually got them? It was not it was a single-digit number. I would say probably 4 years running before we got them. Anywho, so he does want to disclaimer, everything is fluid and subject to change. So I would hope that people give them that sort of grace to bear in mind that, things, to quote our other favorite goblin NPC that we ever interact with. I'm not talking to Vishnak. I'm talking about Glurkub. Glurkub's motto is plans change. All right. So he says, this is a collection of ideas they're investigating and making efforts to achieve. And they're saying, bringing the kinship... And this is actually really cool. This goes a little bit deep into the weeds about what they have to do first before we, the players, actually see something that we can take a look at and, discuss. But he says they need to bring the kinship system up to modern standards to allow advancement. Ooh, deeds. Yay. Calendars. Huzzah. Management of info, okay. Filtering tools, banks, kinship traits, boons, and he says so much more is rooted first in getting them. So basically, they're going to have to spend some time fixing the shit under the hood about how kinships work. And he does mention that kinships actually, the tech behind the kinships, the formatting of kinships, all of that stuff predates pretty much the game itself, the actual launch of the game. So I like the fact that he's talking about how the engineers are working on solving this problem, because quite frankly, this is also a problem they need to solve for the other game, even more so than in LotRO, because the other game has some of that stuff. they have ranks. They have things that you can get when you achieve a certain rank. They don't have calendars. They don't have. So I'm kind of hoping that both of these will feed off each other. Because one thing you can't do in the other game with a guild that we can do with kinships is transfer that data from server to server. And they need to solve that equation over on the DDO side. But this is about LotRO. Okay. So basically, one thing he was trying to assure people that the social bonds we construct in kinship are incredibly important. So I like that acknowledgement. They want to make sure that nothing impedes or threatens it when these updates go live. So they need to fix the ship on the kin data storage below this, behind the scenes before they can do everything. So he's hoping to start teasing this feature shortly after the launch of Update 44, which, reminder, is later this month, April 2025. And he says if all goes well, they want to provide the feature to all kinships before the release of Update 45, which might be the expansion? Question mark. Boop. And no, actually, Update 45 will be the third update of the year. It will not be the fall. He says, well, the details will need to wait till the June update, so that's when we'll get our next producer or our next letter to the players. He did provide a roadmap. So this is the roadmap. We're going to scroll down. Here's the roadmap. All right. And again, I would like to compare briefly. We're going to flip this on and flip it off. You know, wax on, wax off. Let me get the little thing here. All right. Now, so what we have here is just the last 3 quarters of the year because quarter 1 is done. But let's go take a quick look and see how they've done so far. All right. Quarter 1, raid. Yep. It's been having some issues. Quality of life update. That happened. That was cool. Deed log. Ooh. I wouldn't say they fumbled it. I'm saying they rightfully pulled it and sent it back for more work. Back to the drawing board. I expect us to get the updated D-log with the updates and the functionality and all the fun stuff that people were... I don't think it's going to be as awesome as people want it to be necessarily, but it's for me, it's definitely a step up in functionality. It just needed more work. That's it. That's it. And I think it'll be fine once they get it done. Bug fixes, they always do that. I honestly don't know why they put it on a roadmap. Update to birding. Well, that happened. Yeah, that did happen. Yep. I personally have not played with birding. I should play with birding because it sounds like a heckin' lot of fun. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm busy. All right. So, quarter 2 is the big one. So, 18th anniversary. It's on the old and the new. But we have a name for the... I was actually asking on my streams as I was playing through the content I just, thinking about what the stuff that I'd been playing through the Shigani areas. And I'm like, what the hell's happening with this Crown of Hamad? This seems like a pretty big deal that there was this kingdom called Hamat, and there's this lady in this one town who's trying to become the new queen and try to take over from the bad guys. And we do some intro quests to become known to her and her I don't know what you call him, associate, her gentleman associate. And it kind of just like petered out, just tapered off, and is like, okay, where are we going with that? Well, apparently that's where we're going is. And looking back at the old roadmap, content pack and uniting Shigana, that's 2 lines. To me, I put a question mark next to it and the arrow because I'm thinking it's one and the same. One thing I would like to point out on the new one is there is no mention of the new instance. I don't see nothing about it. I don't see new instance down here anywhere. So that's a thing. So I'm curious of what happened with that. I think it's still coming, but I don't know anything else about it. And sad face next to the new raid. Again, I am not a raider, but I know plenty of raiders. And I can imagine their disappointment in this, honestly. I'm not going to lie. All right, so quarter 3, we now finally have some updates. Previously, we knew there was going to be a free update, system enhancements, and more. And now we know what that more means. 2 classes on the block for class updates, Hunter and Burglar. So, I guess Professor Corey is going to be like, what am I going to do? No, he's not like that, actually. He's just going to be a little bit confused for a little bit until he figures it out. Hobby updates. And that is, again, I don't know, maybe that counts under system enhancements. But birding and then fishing extended. A new way to fish. Well, I hope it doesn't involve dynamite. Which it shouldn't because it's Lord of the Rings. But they have gunpowder in Lord of the Rings, so you never know. Alright. Alright, so. Other things. Farmer's Fair update. Ooh. So it sounds like they're going to be doing some overhauls to the Farmer's Fair. And as you remember, Farmer's Fair kind of was a squishing together. I don't know. Farmer's Fair, the holidays kind of all got squished together because the addition of the Great Wedding being the Midsummer Festival, and then we already had a Summer Festival. What about for Summer? No, we get a second one. And now we're going to get something else with it. Monster Play, Reward Track, and Siege integration. Siege! With an exclamation point there. And also note the and more comments here at the bottom. And more! We're going to get all these things and more! So what that and more is basically Standing Stone leaving themselves for wiggle room. As long as they add one additional thing that's not on this list. And more is fulfilled, so whatever. And you'll notice as time passes, the things under each header go down and down because they basically, I think this is the way they're doing their comms these days, is they don't want to overpromise, they don't want to underdeliver because everybody hates that. Everybody. Nobody likes that. This is one of those cases where some cranky or salty player like me can go in and say, nobody cares, and it's actually the truth, right? Nobody will care. Nobody cares if they under promise and over deliver. Everybody will love that. Anyhow, so what we have here for quarter 3 is some updates about Monster Play. We do know that they've been working on a Monster Play reward track of some kind, similar to the LI reward track for Freeps. I don't know how close the similarity is. Again, I am not a PvMPer. I don't know whether the overall PvP community consensus is this is a good thing or a bad thing. The other one, Siege integration, I'm not sure. I've heard some cranky pants things about it in various Discords. The main official Discord, people make their opinions known with regularity. Yep. So, if players don't like something, that's what they have moderators for. And I say players don't like something and they get out of line with their... It's like, well, he's right, but he's out of line. He's out of line, but he's right. That meme from Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or, you know, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, where Anthony Mackie is, like, looking at, you know, his good guy is looking over at the Winter Soldier, and then, you know, Baron Zemo says, you know, something foul as usual, but he's like, he's out of line, but he's right. So I leave that to the experts to discuss as to whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Again, not my jam, so I hope it goes well and hope whatever winds up happening that the majority of the players love it. That's it. And then finally, the expansion pack is now officially proclaiming on the roadmap that the level cap increase is going to be 160. There were some folks who was like, is it going to go to 155? And I'm like, no. I don't know why people thought it might go to 155. Because we've got traceries that say their end cap is 160. We haven't had a 0.5, like a 5 level increment in leveling in quite some time. It might be... Actually, it's been since the end of Mordor. 115, and then we went to 120, then we went to 130. Yeah. Anyhow, I don't think we went to 125, but we certainly didn't go to 135 or 145 as level caps. It's been 10 for the past few expansions. So anytime so we knew there was a level cap. There's going to be a new landscape. We have no freaking clue what it is. And now we know for sure that there's 4 new zones. And there's a little bit more at the end of the letter. And he's talking about, you know, jam-packed with updates, changes, and improvements. And he also points out there's a lot more planned that they're not highlighting it, as the timing is subject to change, as always, and they're erring on the side of caution rather than oversharing. And one thing that's interesting is that he's mentioning that they expect to open Bull Roar earlier than usual for the plan changes to like PvMP, Bergs, and Hunters. And they want to get a little bit more testing done before the things happen. So he adds, current schedule and output should provide some staggered testing on the different aspects of the summer release and provide a preview of the new kinship feature before it arrives on the live servers, which is awesome. And so, yes, he's saying the next update should be available before the end of June. Dates for Bull Roar before the release of Update 45 will be communicated through the forums and through our new Discord. And please join it. And he ends with, as always, I remain Orion. And he, of course, thanks people for supporting the game and loving it and whatnot. All right. I would like to point out is he then hopped on the forums and started answering people's questions, even as of like an hour ago from when I'm recording this. Okay, so he does go into a little bit more explanation about this favored standing for the reputation. And he's like, for standard reputation, stopping at kindred level, like the original ones that, you know, you're kindred and then you couldn't gain any more rep. A character on the account must reach the kindred level. All other characters on that account will earn a bonus to rep starting at friend level. For reps extended beyond kindred, the character must attain respected or honored. And for subsequent characters on the account to receive further bonuses upon reaching those tiers. If you have a character who reached respected with Defenders of Minas Tirith, then all other characters would begin earning bonus rep gains starting at friend tier through kindred. Okay, so I think it'll be easier to see when we actually get the stuff in hand to be able to see it. Now, I seem to recall that when they had mentioned it, that it's not going to be for every single OG reputation in the game. I think there's a few of them that it doesn't relate to, that you don't get extra bonuses for. But I can't remember what the verbiage is off the top of my head for that. All right, what else did he say? So somebody was asking about what about integrating older items into the bauble system? And he says, yes, there's plans to transition any older items which can be made into baubles. So things like fireworks, pipeweed, stuff about something coming up in an upcoming coffer? ? People have already discovered part of it. You can see the mount in the collections panel in the live game world. So guess what? They spilled those beans. Not on us. All right. And yeah, people were disappointed about the raid being delayed or actually, canceled entirely. And they're going to take the planned boss for that second raid. They're going to move it someplace else into a larger offering later in the year, he said. That's kind of cool. He wasn't willing to discuss what's going to happen with the Harvest Math / Farmers Fair later this year. So that he couldn't be drawn on that one. And there's going to be more information coming out when we get closer to the release of Mirkwood on Angmar and Mordor. So apparently they've done some tweaks to Mirkwood. Hopefully they've fixed that thing with the thing where you had to complete the story to get to Oscalas. That would be kind of nice. But I see why it happened when it happened. Anyhow. All right. Another answer he had given, somebody was... Somebody was asking about quest rewards or things you could only acquire once, but because they were a storage nuisance, somebody might have deleted them. Will they be able to get them again? And Orion invited that person to send examples to him, and he will see what they can do. Send it to him by a forum conversation. So if you have something like that you think should be a bauble and you threw it away, send him a DM or a PM on the forums and mention it and link it and say, this is the thing I'm looking for. And he's like, he knows what's planned, but if there are things they may have overlooked, he wants to compare. So apparently, also, okay, he goes into. So apparently, there is a 6-person instance coming out that was supposed to be not in conjunction with, but as well as this 1-person lair raid. So kind of like the Fall of Khazad Doom raid, you know? You just got the Balrog and run away, run away, run away. So it was going to be a lair raid. And they were still going to do the 6-player thing. And they couldn't scale the raid idea down to a 6-person. And as Temple of Utukbur extended, basically it became untenable. And they decided to repurpose. So that's kind of cool. Somebody was asking about virtues, and he says, sorry, they only discuss the topics currently under development. If something's omitted, it does not mean it is not being discussed or reviewed. It simply means there's nothing we can significantly divulge on these subjects, which is the diplomatic way of saying we don't have an answer that we are ready to announce at this time. So that's understandable, because if they announce something and people freak the hell out, yeah, that's always bad news bears. Okay. And also, nope, that's about it. There was an announcement at the end of today's Casual Stroll with Scenario. This makes this video not as evergreen, but there will be we have a Cave Troll episode next week with guest content designer, MVP, former LotRO and DDO streamer turned Standing Stone employee, working his way up from QA, going now into content designing. If you've played the Amber Rule landscape quests, you played stuff that he worked. If you played the updated couple of quests in the Angle of Mythithol, that's MVP's work. So I'm really excited about that myself, as also MVP's a friend. So yay, I'm excited. All right, overall, I like the methodology they're employing here of having of having a quarterly player roadmap, because we have already seen them getting bit in the ass by publishing a year-long roadmap full of all kinds of details, and then shit happens. And so they have to change everything, people get disappointed, etc. ad nauseum. So this is a better way of doing things. As long as they commit to it and continue putting out, this sort of communications, it's all Gucci. Overall, I would also like to point out one thing that was not mentioned in the roadmap, either the old one or the new one, is Ripondale housing. We don't know when the hell it's coming. We do know that parts of it may be visible in the live game worlds. Thank you, Pont and Finberry, for putting those screen caps all over the place. And yeah, so we basically have some more details on what's coming. We've already seen things shift because of the realities of game development. The transfers took way too freaking long, but Standing Stone finally has transfers, so they're mostly working. Oh, they're working. It's just that right now, because of population on certain worlds, Orchrist, that people can't transfer to Orchrist right now. That'll change. They'll get it sorted out. And of course, they didn't mention on the roadmap, but at some point, we don't know what sort of near or further future it's going to happen. They are going to open 2 more 64-bit worlds. And there's a lot of anxiety in the player community about, is this going to be like Ithel? We don't know. And, I mean, the idea of opening these 2 new worlds is there's a physical limitation to how many players they can shove on a single server. So at some point, you got to, you got to pop the zit and let the stuff... that's a bad analogy. Basically, you have to... Your water balloon is over full, and you need to pop it to let some of the water go to another balloon. So that 2 balloons can have similar sizes, and still everybody gets to play with their friends. I think it's going to be a hard sell for Standing Stone to get a lot of people to migrate from Glamdring to the new 64-bit world for NA, and people from Orchrist to migrate to the new 64-bit world coming to EU. But on some level, people have to move. We already know that Orchrist is having issues. It'll eventually smooth itself out, I think. But on some level, they have to ease the load. This is the new server is going to be like Samwise rolling in to shoulder carry Frodo up the mountain, and then Samwise is still there later on, and Samwise lives, a healthy life till he goes to Valinor. It's going to be, if people reframe their views on it and probably maybe think of that example, maybe they'd like it better. But right now it seems to be a lot of like, hell no, I'm not moving off of Orchrist. I got my names, I've got my people, we've got this whole thing, I don't care. But then those same people are also complaining that they can't PvMP because freaking Ettenmoors are full. So you gotta decide what's best for yourself, for your kinship, for your circle of friends. I would say if enough people bounce to whatever the new EU and NA worlds are, then Orchrist will settle down, and the other worlds will see less of a burden when there's 2,000 people on the damn server. This is kind of a good problem to have, but I also understand people's concerns and anxiety with reference to whether or not these new worlds will wind up becoming ghost towns. We don't know. Hopefully it doesn't wind up like Ithel. Anyhow, that's it for me. That's the producer's letter from Orion. Oh, God, it's the letter to the players from Orion. It's not a producer letter. But basically, we've looked at what's there. We kind of looked at what's not there. We looked to see how things change from the previous quarter's roadmap. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these new details that we now know are coming up this year, how that all plays out. New festival stuff, we're going to see the first stuff with the anniversary, so that's pretty exciting. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, again, I'm Druidspire. Toss me a like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You get these videos in your feed. I'm working on sorting out the whole Twitch archive thing, the Twitch archive apocalypse thing. And then after that gets sorted, I will then start being able to get back to uploading more of my live streams. I might actually start curating them a little bit more, but I need to make some changes for that to happen. So, hey, plans change. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the funny pages. Bye now.